to be at a point in which we're basically entering the tribulation and the fallen angels and Satan are here and cast down to earth. I just don't see it at this point. But it is all coming about. It without a doubt is. They are trying it to attempt it. I think when you look at these alliances, when you look at a map of the Middle East, and when you look at these that at the end of the tribulation, even after Antichrist is here, Satan in that role, when you see some of these nations that are going to come against, I believe, the United States, some will come to Jerusalem as well, but you see these alliances forming. Russia, Turkey, China, Iran, and now Iraq has decided to join with Iran in this Belt and Road infrastructure project. So all of these kings of the East in this coalition that will come together again towards the end of the tribulation, we're seeing these relationships, I believe, and these alliances being built, even as we speak, and it certainly is something to watch. Understand, there's going to be, before any coming against the United States, coming against Jerusalem, there's going to be a cry for peace. There's going to be a supposed peace and a temporary peace. And I do believe, as I've said before, they're trying to put together a one world system, perhaps with this League of 70 Nations. I just don't see where they have it that together just yet. And if you believe, as I believe, as probably many of us believe, the tribulation is actually only a 5-month period and only 2.5 months until Antichrist comes in to heal the deadly wound, that's still, in my opinion, a lot to happen in 2.5 months. But I'm not going to discourage anybody from watching. Absolutely watch. I'm not going to discourage anybody from having a theory, and nor am I asking anyone to agree with me, or everyone to agree with me. You know, that is what it is, and watch, but at the same time, not that we can speed things up. We have a tendency, I know I do too, to get very anxious and antsy, and that's natural, but it'll happen. But it'll happen on God's time, and I personally believe there's still much that needs to happen. Now, Trump, though, again, this stuff with the Ukraine. And do you understand as well the deception that comes with the political dynasty and how they just throw out these inane partisan arguments to try to keep you in a particular camp? When Hillary was being investigated for Benghazi, I remember it. I'm sure all of you do. Democrats were like, this is just a partisan witch hunt. This is just to try to get Obama out of office or put pressure on him. This is to make sure Hillary never has a chance to be president of the United States. And now with Trump under the gun, it's, well, the Democrats are trying to nullify the elections from 2016. They don't want the people to vote. They don't want the duly elected president to serve. It's nonsense. And if you don't see that it's nonsense, that it's one big sideshow, then unfortunately I think you are blinded. And again, none of us know everything. None of us necessarily see everything. And that doesn't mean you're going to bow to the Antichrist. That doesn't mean you're going to hell. That's God's business. But you'll either come out of that and see it for what it is, or you'll be a dupe and patsy for those individuals and for those political parties and for that dynasty of politics and those who run it, being even Satan himself and his children, the Kenites, those who lie and call themselves Jews, the whatever term you prefer, be it that, be it the Zionist, you'll just continue to be patsies and dupes for them. Hey, I'm not saying that to be harsh. I'm just saying that to tell you how I believe that it is. You know, and again, I'm sure that Biden that there was corruption, that there was taking advantage of. I posted a very even-handed piece, I believe, from The Intercept, in which it said that Biden's family has enriched themselves off his name and his political position and power. But at the same time, Donald Trump absolutely tried to use that to damage Joe Biden. You have to understand how Donald Trump operates and how he works and how he's always operated. And if you don't, then you probably are going to think that it's some part of a Democrat media deep state coup. And to think about it, from thehill.com, Ukrainian to U.S. prosecutors, why don't you want our evidence on Democrats? This was an article, I believe. I posted it already on Friday, yesterday afternoon. Ukrainian law enforcement officials have been trying to get information to the American government, saying, we believe there was corruption here. We believe there was corruption from the Bidens. We believe that there was this movement in Ukraine to try to dig up dirt on Donald Trump and to try to enable Hillary Clinton to win the election, kind of a reverse Russiagate, if you will. But these Ukrainians who have been trying to get this information to the United States have been completely stonewalled, not by Hillary's, not by Obama's State Department or DOJ. Not to say there aren't loyalists in there, but it is Trump's State Department. It is Trump who has nominated, who has appointed the Secretary of State, and who has appointed the Attorney General and other officials within the Department of Justice. They've been completely stonewalled by Trump's State Department, by Trump's DOJ. This, again, is nothing but a sideshow. And don't act like, and don't be so naive as to believe even that there's no dirt even on Trump and Trump's accomplices and allies within the Ukraine. We know Manafort was over there. We now have his lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, who is going to be investigated in this probe because you had a couple of Ukrainians who, by the way, also happened to claim Jewish ancestry, who tried to funnel hundreds of thousands of dollars to illegally in foreign money to help Trump get elected. And they were accomplices, they were allies, they did business, they may have even been clients of Giuliani. So there is plenty of corruption to go around without getting into the partisan nonsense of attempted coups, nullifying the election, overturning the results. That's one of the most inane arguments when you break it down that they could possibly deliver. It really is, if you logically break it down. And hopefully I don't have to explain it, because among other things I really don't have time to, I don't think. Now, there was also a little bit of good news, in that there was a ruling from a New York federal appeals court, and we'll see what happens here. I am not expecting a lot. I don't know that it would ever be a big deal, but it's just a nice little break from the president is above the law, as he has said, as his lawyers have said, and as the DOJ is saying that's their policy, never to indict the president. You know where that policy originated? Who was president at the time? Richard Nixon. You know, the Supreme Court has never had a ruling to back that up, that the president is above the law in any way, that he cannot be indicted. And that's why this federal appeals court said, no, this claim goes too far. And basically it blankets not only the president, but any of his accomplices, allies, from ever being prosecuted or indicted, if we allow it to go that far. So they've said his tax returns are fair game, that there are things he can be indicted, even arrested on. And I'm sorry, but regardless of politics, for the rule of law, and for the idea that nobody is above the law, that is at least good news. Now, in the remaining 5 minutes, I want to get to, again, let's just go back, just a recap, a refresher, a reminder. Feel free to share this. Again, the whole thing, of course, but I saw on Adam Green's No More News, and I don't watch it that much, but people posted, and a friend of mine who's gotten to be, I think, a good friend and a great sister in Christ, had asked me to watch it, and I saw this thing in there, among other things, about the kosher Nostra, or Nostra. I didn't know exactly what that was. I'm sure it had to deal with the Zionist fake Jews, the Kenites, and basically it's a term for Jewish organized crime, or Jewish American organized crime. And this says Trump sure serves the kosher Nostra, or Nostra. And I just want to hit on the high points here. And it brings in WikiLeaks, bringing up or mentioning that Trump is supported by the kosher Nostra, which includes WikiLeaks. And again, as a point of evidence that when the Access Hollywood tape came out, which had Trump talking about grabbing them by the you-know-where, immediately WikiLeaks dumped its largest cache of Hillary Clinton emails at the time, including those of John Podesta, to try to put the heat back on her. I think it's interesting. Ayn Rand has been held up as this great lover of freedom and libertarianism, and civil rights and constitutional rights. Well, who was Ayn Rand? She was a confessed, devout atheist Jewess, and again, probably more likely of the synagogue of Satan. Alicia Rosenbaum was her real name. Anton LaVey, the Satanist, admits that his brand of Satanism was just Ayn Rand's philosophy with ceremony and ritual added. One of her role models, one of her heroes, was a sadistic serial killer who dismembered little girls. That came out in her writings. Donald Trump said he relates to one of her characters who believed that selfishness is a virtue, and in her book commits a violent sexual assault. Also, in this piece from this blog, you have the ties. Actually, Donald Trump, according to his own brother, is German-Jewish in origin. His older brother, Fred, joined a Jewish fraternity. There's some information here about Czechoslovakian ties. This is the second time that I've seen this claim. I wish I could obtain verification of it, that he made a deal with Jimmy Carter not to pay taxes for 30 years. I've seen two people say this now. In 1973, Jimmy Carter was invited to join the Trilateral Commission. He worked closely with Brzezinski and Rockefeller. And keep in mind, too, as we talk about this, there's one of these for both sides. There's a Sheldon Adelson. There's a Koch brothers. There's a Henry Kissinger on the Republican side. And there's also information about connections to Epstein, connections to Meyer Lansky, connections to many of these people, Roy Cohn, including that basically what Jeffrey Epstein did, Roy Cohn did before that, in terms of orgies with underage people, gay orgies. There's some fascinating information that ties Donald Trump in, his upbringing, his background, ties him in with some very bad people, with some of the tares, some of the Kenites, that ties him square in with this pedophile ring that and with this long-standing pedophile ring that he supposedly has been exposing. I'd already posted that. Got about 30 seconds. I covered the high points, I think, of basically what I wanted to cover. Hopefully I didn't go too quickly. Keep in mind that I'll share what I can share. Feel free to read it over. It is all there. Draw your own conclusions, but this has been Jason Hawes on American Faith Today. Keep watching. Keep God in your life. Have a great week, great day. Stay safe. God bless.